Welcome, everybody, to the Dynasty Pulse right here, exclusively premiered on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. Watch for us, Dynasty Pulse After Dark, over on the Undroppables and Fantasy Football Plus as well. We have a great show. We're going to be talking about our reactions, risers and fallers, etc., from the NFL Scouting Combine 2025. A lot of you might know it, but it happened last weekend over in Indianapolis, Indiana. There were a bunch of people out there. They were shooting video for us, taking some analysis, writing down what the players were doing. And so we've coalesced all of that information into hot takes for your edification. The Dynasty Pulse, come for the fantasy football analysis, stay for the euphemisms and innuendo. How you guys doing?
We're doing awesome, bigz, and we got an action-packed show tonight. We got a special guest from Fantasy Pros, none other than DBro. So let's get him in here right away.
Brown is in the house. What's going on, DBro?
Boys, that was one hell of an intro. That was nice. Whoever does the graphics, tip of the cap to, because that was wonderful, man. You kept my ugly face out of it, put the Abby, and made it snazzy, boys. So, hey, you had me on here one time before. Glad to be back. Amazingly surprised I'm back, but nonetheless, ready to talk ball.
Yes. I think Grindberg takes credit for those videos. I think it's his mom.
She doesn't work right now. Yeah, she helps me in the background. So, yeah, she helps put everything together. No,
that might be more impressive than you doing them, though, Grindberg.
It is, yeah.
I mean, seriously, in the day and age, like, what your mom's gonna be, what? I mean, you know, pushing 55. I don't know how old she is. I don't want to say anything out of place, but I mean, in this day and age, to be able to cut videos,
I'm pushing 55. God damn it.
Okay, let's get real now. She doesn't cut my work. She doesn't do my work for me, guys. She doesn't write my show sheets. She is just a supporter. But we got a great show ahead of us today, and we're here. We're here to talk about the Combine, and we got some probing questions for our guest of honor here, DBro. Let's start it off with Schultzy. Schultzy, you got a question for DBro?
I do. All right, so DBro, we got a duo coming out of Iowa State here, and as a result of playing at Iowa State, they are not exactly, or weren't exactly, household names, and I'm talking Jayden Higgins and Jaylin Noel here. But during every step of my evaluation, they have just continued to bump themselves up and up and up. After the Combine, we're sitting here, and I'm in the same boat. They both absolutely smashed. We got Jayden Higgins, RAS score 9.87. He ran a 4.47 40 at 6'4". He's not to be outdone by his teammate here, who had an RAS of 9.58. And the only reason that's knocked a little is because of his size, right?
Yep.
Huge Combine winner, Jaylin Noel, 4.39 40, 41.5-inch vert, 11-foot, 2-inch broad jump. All of those were in the elite category on the RAS scale. He also knocked out 23 bench reps. The bench reps and both of his jump numbers, the vert and the broad jump, tied for best or were the best at the Combine for wide receivers. How high can these two dudes go, and are they officially on the map?
I love both of them. I was talking about them, chirping about both of them before Senior Bowl. So to see them back it up with action at the Combine was absolutely fantastic, dude. And that's those two players, and I think like a swath of these wide receivers in the second and third tier of this class leads me to be out there in the streets. And I hate the narrative that this is a bad wide receiver class. I will push back against that.
Same.
I think this class is good. Now, in saying that, are there any elites of this class on paper and analytics and how people are talking about them? No. Outside of, we want to make the conversation for Tet, Travis Hunter, whatever he plays or doesn't play and stuff like that. I really love this class. Like Noel and Jayden Higgins have second-round draft grades from me. I think both of them are firmly on the map to go inside of the top 60 players. And Jaylin Noel, man, what do you want else for him to do? He went out and he crushed in his final season in Iowa. You look at the analytics. He pops off the analytics. You look at the film. He's awesome. He plays primarily in the slot. I don't give a crap that he's 5'9". That does not matter to me. He went out there and tested like a beast. I think that he could play on the outside. Now, am I saying that is he an 80% outside player? No. I think the best you're asking for is 50-50. Like I said it before, my comp for Jaylin Noel walking into the combine and everything was Khalil Shakir. I'm bumping that up because, again, that doesn't really hold water now because he is way more athletic than Khalil Shakir. So I got to sit here and readjust my comp for him. But I will say this about Noel before we talk about Higgins a little bit. I said this before the combine, and I'm going to say it again here. I'm not projecting that he's the next Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I will not be shocked at all if he actually is. I see a few bug eyes there. But hey, anybody call me on this. If you think I'm wrong, if you think that this is just me going crazy,
it's
please.
on.
No, we're all.
I'm here for it.
Yeah,
yo, talk dirty to us, man.
Yeah,
we're
love
here.
it. We're all here for it.
Well, Shador, what's the deal? Come on.
Oh, I almost changed my kid's name to some amalgamation of Jaylen Noel and Jayden Higgins. So hearing you come on here and say this, as someone who I've followed for such a long time, I feel so vindicated and seen.
Oh, that's glorious. I thought you were going to call me crazy, which, dude, many people have, and it will not be the first and the last time, man. But
we're all going to have bad takes,
dude.
But here's the deal. When you talk about guys I like, I just honestly, I froze a little bit. I rebooted. Now we're back here. So I don't want to derail us. I want you to sing the praises of my two adopted sons, Jayden Higgins and Jaylin Noel, and I don't want to derail us anymore.
And there's a custody battle. Chev wasn't surprised by like he wasn't shocked by your take. He was so happy.
I saw Chev's eyes got this big, so I was like, I don't know whether I'm preaching crazy sauce or he's loving it. So
no, he was impressed.
That's just how the old LBK works, buddy.
Dude, I'm telling y'all this. The narratives around every class and the narratives in this echo chamber around people talking about prospects, it's every single year.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why the best thing I could tell people is if you have a process and you feel confident in it, and it's proof is in the pudding. Like I feel good about my process. My track record speaks for itself over the last few seasons. And people can say that as well about hits and misses. Now, are we going to bat 1,000? Hell no, man. But this is like, if you get 50% right, you're freaking elite. You get 33%, this is like baseball. Then you're also doing really damn good, okay? And when this all comes back, dude, it's like, I don't care. Like, I think a lot of people look at it as maybe not a detriment, but I think it's one of the pluses of how I approach these prospects. I don't watch a lick of college tape. I walk into this and I'm playing catch up. So I'm not struck by all these narratives of people being like, I watched this guy for 3 years. I've seen him transfer 3 different times and fail. I don't give a shit about any of that. I care about how does your film stack up? How's your analytics and everything in between? And that's what tells the tale of how I'm going to rank guys, how I look at guys, how I'm projecting guys, and the comps that I give them. So Jaylin Noel and Jayden Higgins are really damn good prospects, dude. Talked a lot about Noel, but I think that he could be the next Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I will stand pat on that. I think that's his ceiling. Is that his median range of outcomes? No. But Jayden Higgins, this dude's also a freaking stud, and you can pull up whether it's you want to talk about the analytics for him or you want to talk about the film. I've said it before. If you put this guy into a power slot role in day one, we are talking about slant god 2.0. This dude just freaking wins with his size. He knows how to run routes. He's quicker. And the way that he tested proved all of this. He's quicker than people give him credit. If this dude would have been going to like a damn SEC college and add that on to Jaylin Noel, if these guys would not have been at Iowa State and they'd have been a damn SEC college, everybody would be shitting their pants to talk about how they're first-round prospects. But because they're not going to the helmet colleges, people bump these dudes down. And I'm sorry, I think it's really damn impressive for Jayden Higgins over the last 2 years. 27th, 16th in yards per route run, 1st and 18th in PFF receiving grade, as well as if you get further into it, the dude has a 2.2% drop rate or lower in each of the last 3 seasons and a 55.5% contested catch rate in college. That is all freaking stellar. Now you match that up with the fact that he tested really well. Dude, I think he can play outside. I have some questions about him as a downfield receiver, Higgins specifically, only because we didn't see it a ton. Now, while I think his route running is extremely refined in the short and intermediate, and I talked about putting him into a power slot role, and this dude's going to earn 130 targets, but getting him downfield, I think that you look at the route nuance, the variations, how he sets up corners, how he gets their blind spot, all of these parts are pieces. My only worry about him was, did he have enough juice to consistently stack dudes if they put him on nines and things like that? You could still get him deep on posts and deep overs, not worried about any of that. But specifically, if you ask him to go outside on the perimeter, go run a 9 route and win, did he have enough juice to get over the top? And he does. Didn't do it a ton at Iowa State. I think that's more of a function or a fallout of Rocco Bech for both of these players, as well as being held back by the quarterback, than it is anything about their skill set or talent.
Yeah. I fell into these guys a couple of years ago when I was picking up Rocco Bech all over the place as a freshman starter in Campus to Canton leagues. Started watching Iowa State games because they're on. Viewers are probably getting really tired of us talking about Jayden Higgins and Jaylin Noel because we've been doing it for so long. So Jayden Higgins was my guy to watch going down to the Senior Bowl. We're in mobile. We're watching the practice sessions, and you saw the reps that I saw. There was one where he was lined up on the outside on the right-hand side. Mm-hmm. He used footwork to break down the cornerback, got past him, in for a touchdown. He did the same thing in the game where he's in the end zone on a 9. There's an underthrown ball. He boxed out the receiver, he boxed out the defensive back, let him pass him, boxed him out, and then came down with the ball. I watched him win at every spot on the field. He was winning in the middle. He was winning on the outside. There was a catch he made where he was on the left-hand side during there wasn't a defense.
Talking about Higgins or Noel?
Higgins.
Okay. Yeah.
Higgins is lined up on the left-hand side. He runs a little out route, and body twisting catch in the air, comes down with it. I'm like, okay, I came here for this. I'm seeing it. He made a linebacker fall down. He was beating every single corner that they put on him. And then, surprise, surprise, everything comes out. All of the buzz from the people in the fantasy space, and even the MVP awards that were given by the squad that they were playing against were giving it to Jaylin Noel. I was like, why isn't anybody talking about Jayden Higgins? I saw these things that he was doing on the field. Rocco Bech is going to get there. He was a sophomore last year. He's my guy to watch over the next couple of years. I love him.
We'll see.
But he absolutely made Jayden Higgins and Jaylin Noel function. They looked great at the Senior Bowl. They were off the charts at the Combine. Everybody on this show has come on board the Jayden Higgins, the Iowa State Cyclones wide receiver train. And so we're all very glad to hear that your analysis is the same. And now, instead of not hearing his name at all, I'm hearing stuff about him every single day. And it just makes the price that I'm going to pay to have him on every team in fantasy in 2025.
Can I put some respect on his name too? Like, I've got Jaylin Noel as wide receiver 4 in this class above Matthew Golden. I want to put that out there.
Okay, that's bold. That's bold. That's a bold take. Take.
I mean, if this guy lost a rep in Mobile, it must have been when I went to the damn bathroom because I didn't see it.
Coach, you have a follow-up question here?
Yep. DBro, team, scheme, and fit. Today we have Christian Kirk out, Evan Ingram out in Jacksonville for Jaylin Noel as a complement to BTJ. What do you think of that for Jacksonville? Are there some teams where it's team, scheme, and fit that you see fit for Jaylin Noel that would be spicy?
Jacksonville would be pure sex. I would love that. Looking at some other teams here, depending on what happens with T. Higgins, please send him to Cincinnati. I would absolutely love that for either one of these players, because apparently Jermaine Burton can't get his head screwed on right, and he's not going to be a thing in the NFL, much less I don't even know if he's going to be on the roster. Dude, if Dallas doesn't go with round 1 wide receiver, they need somebody to step up opposite of freaking CeeDee Lamb. Send one of these guys to freaking Dallas, man. Denver needs another guy. I mean, that's just off the top of my head, dude. Like, any one of those spots, I would be immensely happy. And that's not even bringing up the Rams, man. The Rams, I mean, look, they're going to move on from Cooper Kupp. Do we really think Jordan Whittington is going to be that dude? Could he be? Maybe. But Puka Nacua needs a running mate, man.
Emeka Ibuka.
Oh, dude, don't even get me started on Emeka. We'll talk about him. That's
dirty,
the
man.
Cooper Kupp replacement I want right now, baby.
We will get there. We will get there in the after dark when we talk about our wide receivers. Now, Chev, you've been itching at the bit here to ask DBro a question. Let's get at it.
Now, first things first, Derek, DBro, Mr. Brown, if you're nasty. I want to go back to a moment in time, July of 2024. I'm listening to a rookie episode, and I remember Pat Fitzmaurice grilling you about your ranking of Jayden Daniels, and you said on the episode, you said in no uncertain terms, you would select Jayden Daniels ahead of Kyler Murray. And you said on the episode, I'm going to go change my rankings right now because you had Kyler Murray ahead of Jayden Higgins. So first of all, I want to get my platitudes out of the way and give you your flowers for doing that. Now, Mr. Brown, if you're nasty. Now that the Underwear Olympics have ended, who's the guy you walked away from the combine feeling most vindicated about what you saw on tape regarding their athleticism? And on the flip side, who's a guy that you expected to confirm your priors on that let you down? The floor is yours, sir.
All right. So I'll lead off with the let me down. I thought Kaleb Johnson was faster than that. I'll say this. Now, am I worried about Kaleb Johnson because he ran a mid 4.5? No, I'm not. He's not a track guy. You could see that he was slow getting at the blocks. Not all these dudes are track stars in high school. The ones that don't know how to run it can go run the 40. Have at it, man. But the fact that he still got 22.2 miles an hour tells me everything I need to know about Kaleb Johnson. But I was very disappointed. Just because I think it was after that he ran the poor 40 to start out, didn't run it anymore, didn't do anything for testing. Like basically his agent was probably like, "Nah, we're shutting this down, man. We're not going to ruin your draft capital." Nah, loaded running back class. But so that one definitely hurt. For as far as guys, I'm going to go deeper, man. I'm going to go deep with this one, dude. And a guy that I've been chatting, really, really chatty about on out on the X machine, a guy that I really like in this class. Now, I don't have him ranked like aggressively inside of my top 10, my top 8, because I don't know where his draft capital goes. But if you're telling me this man goes in round 4 of the NFL draft, I'm probably bumping him up even higher than I already have him. I was elated to see Marcus Yarns and what he put up on field. I know people might not be familiar with FCS running back Marcus Yarns out of Delaware. This dude can ball, man. Like he is a weapon. He's got enough size, and we're living in a new world of the NFL, boys, where you don't have to be 200 pounds to be a workhorse back in the NFL. Hello, Kyron Williams, Austin Eckler, and Bucky Irving. Hold my beer, and let's enjoy just giving talented players the freaking football, man. So seeing Marcus Yarns go out there and test really well, look like the guy that I thought he was going to be, and you add his pass game utility on top of it, dude, I freaking love him.
It feels like a kind of Danny Woodhead type player to go back a little bit further, does it not?
Dude, I think he's James Cook.
Ooh, that's even
I think
better.
I think he's James Cook. Now, I don't know if he gets the draft capital of James Cook, highly doubtful, because again, he's coming from Delaware, so he's got to pay that Delaware tax. He ain't coming from Georgia, so he's not going to go second round. But can we please live in a world where Marcus Yarns goes 4th round of the NFL draft? Please, can we live in that world? I want to live in that world.
Let's go.
He's the new Lan Larison.
Let's go. Coach, you got anything? You got anything to follow with that?
Yeah, man, I love everything you're saying, man. Debo, just way to go deeper on Marcus Yarns. Like you say, in this world, day 3 draft capital. It's funny, Debo, how do you feel about the narrative of if you're selected on a day 3 as a running back, it's not near the same indictment as prior years because of how loaded and deep this class is, a la somebody like Marcus Yarns.
Yep, I adamantly agree about that. And the thing about draft capital is it buys you opportunities. And we see guys buck that draft capital. Hello, Bucky Irving. Just last year. I mean, if you could play, talent finds a way, baby. I mean, we see that year after year after year. Talent finds a way. You go through all of these NFL rosters. How many of these guys are round 5, UDFA, round 4? They come out of the woodwork, man, because talent does find a way. So, yes, especially in this deep of a running back class, where it's like, bro, like you got like legit, like I'm looking at rankings right now. You got up to like 16. You could maybe make a case for 20 running backs in this class that, like, whether you like their skill set, could they go in the top 4 rounds of the NFL draft? Somebody's got to get squeezed. We're going to find out who it is in a few weeks. But like in this class, yeah, man, like that's the difference in somebody like Yarns or my other dude, similar archetype, but different cat, Brashard Smith. Those kind of guys did nothing but help themselves. So if NFL teams, and I want to be very clear about this, NFL teams already got their grades on dudes. They don't watch their film. Their scouts have gone to these guys. So like any buzz you hear about guys going up the board for most of these guys. Now some of these situations are a little bit different with brand new head coaches, and they got to get things assembled. So they're behind the 8 ball. But the other teams, they've already done their homework. So you're hearing, oh, this guy's rising up the board. No. Nobody's rising up any damn board. That's all media stuff and agents and whatever. Teams got their grades on dudes. But this all comes back to when you see these guys test well, could they be in a similar tier to a lot of other, as far as on a team's board, yeah. And they say, okay, fine. Well, so-and-so and so-and-so is on the board right now. Who are we going with? All right, well, he ran a little bit better. He tested a little bit better. We feel good about talking to him at the combine versus this other guy. Splitting hairs like that might make the difference between whether you go round 4 or round 5.
Are there more players than chairs, though? Do you think that's something that
definitely. No, that's definitely true. Especially, but I think you're going to see this, like, culling of the herd after this season, where like a lot of these veteran dudes have been holding on and things like that. That's gonna, they're gone. You know what I mean? You're probably gonna see that more before rosters and stuff like that. Like Zeke, go ahead and put in your retirement papers. You're not gonna sit here and be on an NFL roster next year. You know, other players like Jeremy McNichols, as good as he was, maybe he doesn't find because a team like Washington drafts a guy, maybe drafts another guy in round 5. Who knows, man? So Kendra you're gonna see. Yes, Kendre Miller, welcome to the unemployment line, unfortunately, because you can't stay healthy, man. So, you know, a lot of these guys are going to get usurped, these RB2s, RB3s. Like, we all feel really good about what Tyrone Tracy did last year. What is precluding the Giants from taking another middle round back in this year's draft? Nothing.
Yeah, no kidding. It's exactly. And it's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of backfields. It's going to look a lot different this year. And DBro, you kind of touched base a little bit about your Kaleb Johnson take. I'm going to get you to dig a little bit deeper here because I want to know your take. Because I know before the combine, I think you had him as your RB2 headed in.
Still my RB2.
He's still your RB2. So I'm going to get you to kind of dig a little bit deeper in there because, you know, he had a great season last year. And, you know, 2 years in college, really, 2,700 yards, 23 touchdowns over 3 seasons at Iowa. His breakout junior year saw him lead the nation in rushing through 4 games, known for his powerful downhill running ability to wear down defenses. However, his combine, it didn't match his hype. 4.57 40-yard dash. It was slower than expected. His 1.62 second 10-yard split was the slowest of all the prospects. So DBro, Chev is really starting to wonder if he's going to need a parachute because I see him jumping off a cliff at just this stage with the roller coaster that Kaleb Johnson has put him on this offseason. So with all the buzz heading into this season, how are you seeing his athleticism that doesn't match his college production? He's still your number 2 running back. So, you know, dig a little deeper on that and why.
So, Chev, I'm going to tell you, we're going to be okay, baby. We're going to be all right. All right.
Okay.
The boat ain't got leaks. We ain't sinking. Everything's cool. We riding to paradise. Okay. So I just want to get that out there. Okay.
All right.
Kaleb Johnson still, per next gen stats, posted the 6th best acceleration, and he still hit 22.2 miles per hour. The fact that he's not a track star, the fact that he also came in because guess what, boys? We all thought Kaleb Johnson played somewhere around the 2 teens, maybe 215, 217. Dude weighed in at 225. You don't see guys usually go to the combine and weigh in heavier than what we thought their playing weight was. So they usually come in a little bit svelte. Like, oh, shit, he dropped 10, 12 pounds. Well, there you go. There's 40 looks a little bit better. So for me, as well as some of these dudes, and again, I'm going to go back to this, they are not track stars. This is not what they have done. These guys, like a lot of them, yeah, for sure. You're really freaking fast on a football field. You're really freaking fast on a track meet at a track meet. Okay, that makes a lot of common sense, but not everybody is a track star. So running the 40, it's like you're prepping for the damn Olympics. You ain't got no pads on. It's about your technique, how much time you're spending on this and stuff. So we don't know what Kaleb Johnson was working on. Like, what is the big priority for him? He could have been like, I'm in the weight room just crushing it. I'm working on speed stuff, but getting out off the blocks for a 40 is different than rocking the pads and running out the backfield. So I'm not worried for a running back of Kaleb Johnson's size, weighing in at 225, again, hitting over 22 miles an hour per next gen stats. I am not worried about that man. I'm going to go back to the analytics. I'm going to lean on the film. And for a player that was 8th in yards after contact per attempt, 5th in breakaway run rate, and 14th in elusive rating last year at Iowa, I do not give one shit that he ran a 4.5.
Yeah, dude, that's totally fair. He's been a tough evaluation. I'm not as much of a roller coaster as Chev's been on over there, but yeah, no, sometimes I'm like, dude, this guy is going to absolutely crush it no matter what. But then I have times where I do question things slightly. So for me, in this instance, I'm going to probably end up falling back on draft capital a lot here.
That might make the difference between him going round 1 versus round 2. And when you're looking at some teams, if they dig into it, do they look at him as a scheme fit? Like if you're talking about a team that's operating with more wide zone versus duo and things of that nature, inside zone and stuff like that, like could that make the difference in his draft capital? Yes, it could. So maybe Kaleb goes round 2. I don't think he's falling outside of round 2. Like let's not get it twisted. I don't think that happens.
The thing that you brought up that hit my ears was when you talked about the technique. A lot of people have been steaming up Harold Fannin Jr. and noted that he had a terrible 40 time. He still hit 21.8 miles an hour at top speed running that 40. Then you have, on the other hand, a guy, you mentioned track stars. You had Arian Smith, who was supposed to kind of work through his drop issues and lack of volume and go out there and blow away a sub 4.3 40. He's run 4.28 in high school, was a high school track star, etc. Goes out and runs a 4.36, which was a good 0.15 seconds slower than what was expected. So Kaleb Johnson hitting that top speed, the AWS stats, a lot of the NFL teams, like you said, the scouting departments know what they've been looking at for the last 3, 4, 5, 6 years. They have those AWS stats. They're being fed by Amazon. So yeah, they're pretty well locked in, depending on how the draft board.
Well, Biggs, you remember seeing, not just because I know he's the low hanging fruit of this kind of conversation, but Biggs, you remember? Did you see the clip when the Rams were talking about when they had Puka Nacua and they were going to select him, and they said he's one of those guys, he ain't going to run the 40 well, but the miles per hour checks out, and so does the game film.
Right.
Like, yeah, okay. When we get a peek from behind the curtain and we hear NFL teams talk like this, then why are we all like, oh, that doesn't matter. It's the 40 time, baby. Like, come on, man.
I think a lot of it is guys want to plant their flag with their take. And
we want to confirm some bias and fade a guy they didn't like to begin with. Okay, yeah. There's a lot of that going on, but usually that's a conversation around Shadur Sanders. So
I got a question for you, and I'm going to shift the kind of target to draft strategy. So we've seen that this is a huge, deep running back class. There are about 18 who reach the minimum thresholds for fantasy football production. We know there are only a handful of wide receivers that will make an early impact. We know that there's maybe 3 quarterbacks who are going to do the same. Are you considering position scarcity going into your rookie draft valuations? It seems like it makes the most sense to load up on wide receivers and quarterbacks early and then start to hoard running backs later on in the back end of the second round, the third round, the fourth round. And that kind of also speaks to the kind of trade strategy in your draft room. Be trading back, because you can stack up third and fourth rounders, and there are so many running backs who are going to be there for you.
Yeah, I think looking at this before we know draft capital, I think draft capital is going to sift out some of that for us once we get that, and how we feel about like the basically the fourth and fifth tier of kind of this class and stuff like that. Like, is Cam Scatabo going to be around 4 pick, or does he fall to round 5? Is Dylan Sampson going to run or not run? And does he go round 3 or does he go round 5? You know, things like that. Like, where does Marcus Yarns, like I talked about, where does he go? Where does this second and third tier of wide receivers go? So I think looking at the class right now without us knowing draft capital and kind of sifting things out after that, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that lines up because, I mean, to be honest, man, like I just said, there's 16 to 20 running backs you can make a case of like, oh, shit, I like this guy. Versus like after wide receiver 10 of this class, I'm kind of like, I'm out, baby. You get past back like Jack Bech, I have my wide receiver 10, and I'm just like, nah, y'all can keep the rest of these dudes. I'm good with it. Savion Williams, let somebody else go with him. To Restrepo, nah, I saw him get strapped up in Mobile. I'm good. Like I don't need him, man. Like, so I think that looking at, depending on what you need, it is very, very scarce at wide receiver. I think it's also the top 3 tight ends of this class have really distanced themselves. Now we shall see what Gunnar Helm runs at his pro day and evaluate that. I did not think he was a freaking 4.84 guy. So the ankle injury coming out definitely was nice to see. And I believe it. I believe it because I don't think we watch his film that he's a 4.84 guy. I think he's got 4.7, maybe low 4.7 speed, you know, enough to get by. But again, going back to the tight end class, for me, it's the top 3 dudes that are going to be real difference makers. And then there's everybody freaking else. Like, I'm not trying to crap on Mason Taylor, but you watch his film and stuff like that. You look at his analytics, like what screams high end upside outside of like, okay, we know fruit of the loins of Jason Taylor. Outside of that, like I ain't seeing it, man. Like, I think he's going to be a solid tertiary option for an offense, can beat zone coverage, get open underneath. He's not a difference maker though. Like, I look at him as like, okay, if he falls into top 12 production in 1 year, okay, have at it and trade him away because he probably ain't going to do it again. So yeah, I think there's more scarcity at wide receiver. The top 3 tight ends are really distancing themselves, and there's only 3 quarterbacks really in this class we got to talk about. I like Tyler Shuck, but I ain't putting him in the same tier as the top 3 guys. I mean, I'm sorry, I haven't been day drinking.
But that makes drafting way more fun, though, or talking about fantasy, or just arguing in general. So I love that. I mean, I love that point. To Biggs' point, I mean, one thing that I've been really consistent about is saying that this is a year to get that mid-round draft capital because there are so many good running backs.
Dude, I want all the seconds I possibly can, Chev.
Yeah,
I really do, man.
Seconds and thirds and just as many as you can possibly get. Like, you're gonna come away with value. It's like throwing dynamite in the water and saying you're going fishing when it comes to this running back class. Like, there's just so many good running backs. So I guess, to close this out a little bit, I guess, who is the guy like in that second and third round range? Like, I'm sure you're doing mock drafts quite a bit. Who is the guy in that second, third round range that you feel like you have to walk away with?
Oh man. There's a few different guys, and so in the second round range, I just finished his tape last night. Dude, I am over the moon for freaking DJ Giddens. I love him so damn much. It's really interesting when you get into this and you get into deeper of the class, or there's like names and you hear stuff, or they're not ballyhooed guys, or maybe they're polarizing, and you're like, all right, I don't know. I'm walking into this because, like, you hear like, oh, Tet and everything like that. Okay, well, the film's probably going to be really good. I love it when I get to guys' film in certain classes and I'm just sitting there watching and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I'm feeling some kind of way watching this. Like, and there are 2 guys in this class that absolutely jump out in that realm for me. DJ Giddens is freaking awesome, man. Like, I had a placeholder ranking for him. And dude, tell me if I'm wrong, boys. Do you see anybody out there in social media or the NFL draft community hyping up DJ Giddens? I don't,
No.
but they
No.
sure as hell should be. He's really good, man. Like the way he moves in the second level and the way that he can plant and change direction and create yards for himself, and as creative as a runner as he is, because that is the one skill that I love out of running backs that translates. You tackle breaking and the ability to create yards for yourself. If you can do that shit, it doesn't matter what offensive line you go to. You're going to succeed because you have the ability to create yards for yourself. And that man can put his foot in the on the damn field, plant and go. And his ability to both weave through defenders in the second level, and really for as upright as he runs, his contact balance is crazy underrated, dude. I posted a clip out on X last night where he gets smacked and spins out of a tackle, puts his hand on the ground, picks himself up, and he gets 8 more damn yards after he got hit, just dragging fools along with him. I really love him, but the other guy I'm going to bring up here, man, is hold on, I got to collect myself here a little bit after DJ Giddens. The other guy that I'm going to sit here and stand for, it all comes back to a player that I feel like, again, has not been talked about near enough. And I think a lot of people are going to expect that I pick up, it's going to be Bashal Tootin for me. But, like, dude, if I'm sitting in the third round, I'm going to talk about my dude, Jaylen Royals, who, again, going to Mobile. And I think it really needs to be mentioned for Jaylen Royals that you turn on his film, and I get it's Utah State. This dude has rack ability for days. You put the ball in his hands. There are a lot of guys in this class that I think are arbitrage plays off of each other. Like, I think Tre Harris, who is my wide receiver 2 in this class. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I freaking love that man. Tre Harris is a baller. He's a guy that I could easily get on the pulpit and just stand up and scream to the heavens about, because, dude, it's analytically, it's film. It doesn't matter what you want to talk about with that dude. I love all of it. He ain't a one-year wonder either if you want to look at the analytics. But Jaylen Royals is the arbitrage play off of Tre Harris. You put the ball in his hands, he's going to create yards. He can create yak. He's got speed. And for a guy you want to see coming out of freaking Utah State, no star recruit, went to freaking Georgia Military Academy and transferred to Utah State. You want to see at the Senior Bowl, you want to see him win versus better competition. And he did it. And he did it at a less than 100%. I talked to him at the podium there, and I talked to him at the podium at the combine. He's still not 100%, and he went and ran a mid 4.4. He went out and posted I think it was a 9.07 RAS. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong with that. But testing like that, winning in Mobile, because he wasn't able to draw upon his raw speed. You saw the dude winning with route nuance and his release package off the line. So you're telling me, okay, I got questions about this dude coming out of a small school. How explosive is he? Can he get open versus better corners? He did all of that shit while still hurt. And it wasn't the foot that ended his season, but it was a soft tissue injury. I want to clarify that too, because people be like, oh, is it the foot? Well, that could be problematic because that's what ended his season. It's not the foot injury. So Jaylen Royals, definitely somebody that has to get brought up in that conversation. And DJ Giddens, and I got to get a shout out to Tre Harris, because I think, again, we want to talk about the top end of this class, and people are like, man, I don't know. This class isn't that good. This wide receivers aren't that good. Tre Harris is going to put people on lock, man. He's going to show people what's up. And I got one of the most elite quotes out of that man. He is a soul snatcher. He talked about it at the combine. I was backflipping after he made that. I was like, oh, shit, this is so good.
Love it. Coach.
We are bricked up in the cement all together, DBro.
Yeah, baby.
Welcome.
Oh, you Tre Harris fan?
Oh, we all are.
Tell him.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Oh, let's go.
Yes.
All right, Coach, you have the floor now, buddy.
Hey, and I love the DJ Giddens call. Just laughable in this class. He's
not getting talked about. Am I wrong?
Insane. It's insane. Absolutely.
God,
now, DBro, one of my favorite episodes of all time that really got me locked in on this prospecting thing, this college into the NFL, is the episode you did years ago. I think it was 2020. You and Ray just broke down. You were just going deep on all the prospects.
My man.
I forever loved that show.
Love that boy.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Ray. Sometimes, DBro, in fantasy football, we're like the fly in Bug's Life, where we can't look away even if we get zapped. On that concept of we don't like to double count stats for priors that we already had. Are there one or two instances of players whose performances at the combine make it tempting to be overly excited for? So who is or are players who you're about to be irrational for, even if you risk getting zapped, aka you're willing to go down with the ship and truther for?
I think Tre Harris is one of those, because I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like him, and I know he's polarizing. And I'm again, this goes back to I'm standing on process, man. Like and we go back to the testing. I do not care. I do not care. I will say this a million freaking times. I do not freaking care about his 4.5 40. That does not matter to me. At his size, at 6'2", 205, 4.5 is plenty fast enough to get open, to get deep. And even if you want to shade him and say he's not that great of an athlete, well, you're wrong, because he put up an 84th percentile or higher broad and vertical jump. So the dude has explosiveness. So I think Tre Harris is one of the guys I'm going to be planting the flag for. I easily can make a case again for Jaylin Noel. My two other guys I'll kind of go back to on this. I talked about Marcus Yarns and how much I freaking love his game. He's a pass game weapon. I'm going to give somebody in the same kind of breath. I think he can be what everybody hoped they were getting out of Kenny Gainwell, but didn't get out of Kenny Gainwell, and that's Brashard Smith. This dude is freaking awesome, man. Ran a 4.39. He's got quicks. 1 year of playing running back at SMU after going to the U and playing slot wide receiver. I mean, you give me Brashard Smith or you give me Marcus Yarns in a committee, and you're telling me one of these guys gets good draft capital round 4 or higher, and we're off to the races, baby. Like Brashard Smith or Marcus Yarns, hell, both of them could easily walk into 70 targets in an offense. And it's because these guys are weapons. They can get out and actually run wide receiver routes. One of them happened to be a damn wide receiver before he went to running back. But the other guy, it's the same damn thing. And it stacks up on the analytics. It stacks up on the film. I love both of these guys. I've got Yarns. I don't know where consensus is on them, because I kind of put my head down. I stay with my process, and I don't listen to all the other echo chamber bullshit. So, like, honestly, I don't know where consensus is on them. I'm just going to say that I have Brashard Smith as my RB9 right now, and I have Marcus Yarns as my RB13 in the class.
See, I hear you talk about Yarns and Brashard Smith and their route running capabilities and everything, and I just hear land Larison to the moon. Sorry.
We love that. Yeah, it's a interesting situation with these running backs, because it's such a deep class, and we're hearing a lot of rumblings of all these guys getting pick and play. So a lot of this is going to really come down to draft capital, obviously, and where these guys land. Great transition for our next segment here is after the combine, guys. Who's a guy that you need to have on your roster based off of your priors or based off of how they performed, whether good or bad, in the combine? DBro, you kind of mentioned a couple of guys already. You said Tre Harris, Marcus Yarns. I know you got Marcus Yarns down here. You want to, elaborate more? Do you got anybody else on the slate there that you may see as a guy that you kind of need to have on your roster at this stage?
I'll give Yarns a little more shine, then I'll give you another name. Just to put pen to paper here, boys. Amongst all FBS and FCS running backs with at least 20 targets. So that is a really deep pool. Mr. Yarns was 35th and 7th in receiving grade over the last 2 years, 18th and 19th in yards per route run. That is against all FBS and FCS running backs, as well as he was 22nd in yards after contact per attempt last year. So dude can play, as well as he tested exactly the same as James Cook. But moving over to somebody else, I'll talk about my dog. Give me Jack Bech, man. I'm going to go out there on a limb for Jack Bech, because, again, I don't think the film for Jack Bech really tells the full tale about Jack Bech, because I wasn't that impressed with his film entering Mobile. For a player, played a lot of slot. For everybody that's not familiar with Jack Bech's story, his game, played a lot of slot at TCU. Before that, entering college, he was a tight end at LSU at the way back. Then converted to wide receiver. So losing a lot of weight, not playing the position before. Jack Bech really crushed it at Mobile, man. And I think he's put that on top of it with really strong testing numbers. And he won in so many different ways in Mobile. They put him in the slot. He won on in-breakers, out-breakers. They put him outside. He could either separate or he won in contested situations. I mean, one of the best throws in Mobile, there weren't many, but one of the best throws for Jalen Milroe in Mobile was a long one to Jack Bech, which really was Jack Bech going up and saying, dude, that ain't your ball, it's mine.
Yeah, he's the 75-25 contested catch guy.
Yep.
And you're preaching to the converted. This is a Jack Bech space here.
Love it, man. Jack Bech is a damn dog. He is going to enter an NFL locker room. His teammates are going to freaking love him. His coaches are going to love him. He is a tone setter. Like, you want to watch a dude, and this doesn't – I don't knock any wide receiver or running back for this, and I want to be very, very clear about this. People will get out in the space, and they'll say, oh, this wide receiver's kind of lazy. He's not running full speed whenever the ball's not going to him, especially when in college. You know, we got design plays. Guys are known first reads, things of that nature. And a lot of guys aren't running like, you know, I'm not saying half-hearted routes, but they ain't running full speed and trying to put somebody on skates when the ball's not coming to them. Jack Bech's ass is going to be blocking every single freaking play. He is going to run. He's going to give you 150 freaking %. And, dude, I know that doesn't count for fantasy points, but damn it, stuff like that could be the difference between him going round 4 of the NFL draft and round 3 of the NFL draft.
And being on the field, too.
Absolutely. I love everything that you just said so much, and we are going to expound upon this. So I love the comp between Marcus Yarns and James Cook. I'm looking at their RAS scores right now. They're almost identical, 8.99 to 8.80. Yarns is a little bit more explosive with a 37.5-inch vertical. I've got to get into the tape on him, but that was a guy that popped in, you know, that you heard just little crumbs about because everybody was raving about, you know, the top
and
end
Chev,
of the running
just to
back
throw that
class.
out there, he I think it's still listed wrong on Raz right now. I think he's listed at 183. He actually weighed 193.
Yeah, they got it at 190. They got it right. They got it at 193 now.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure because I've
193.
seen it posted as 183 in some spots, and we would be having a different conversation for a 180-pound back versus the guy in the 190s scraping the 200s. So.
Yeah, 183-pound back is a slot receiver, so we don't have to.
Yeah, it's a little too small.
We don't have to do too much there.
Yep.
So, and then with Jack Bech, I mean, this is a guy that just seems to he's just doing everything the right way. I mean, it's you know, obviously we know about the off the field, like the personal tragedy, and he's responded in a way that you would want for a guy in the locker room. And on top of that, every time you give him a chance to do something with the football, he does it, and he does it real nasty like. So that's a guy that I think just really embodies what you want to bring into your locker room, like you said before. And he's going to be a tone setter. I mean, you could use him like Ben Skoranek, but you could also use him like a guy like a guy that's going to dunk on you.
Use him like Puka. Put him in line and let his ass block and chip too, because that's part of Puka's skill set.
I mean, using him in the Ram, like the Rams spend a day 3 pick, a 4th round pick on him to come in. They use those condensed splits, and I mean, you're looking at not a 1-for-1 Cooper Kupp replacement because I mean Cooper Kupp's incredible. We can't put those expectations on him, but if he gets an opportunity, he's a great guy. I mean, he's going to produce, and you can get him in the 4th round of rookie drafts. I liken him a lot to Jalen Coker. What would you say about that?
Oh, dude, I was a cokehead before it was cool, man. I love Jalen Coker coming out. There's old tweets, man. I love that damn kid. He was one of my guys in the last class. I thought it was a damn travesty he went undrafted. I couldn't believe he went undrafted. Especially, I mean, like, wide receiver class is good. I really like that. I've struggled with my Jack Bech comp. The closest I've gotten to is Juwan Jennings because I think there's a lot of different parts and pieces to his game. And to be honest, like we talked about, Chev, like, I think the best football for Jack Bech is still ahead of him in the sense of like,
absolutely.
I still think that there are ways and a lot that he is going to get better just because he hasn't played wide receiver and we're still seeing the evolution of his game. And honestly, we've seen it in real time in this draft cycle so far.
I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, this is a guy that led LSU in receiving on a team with BTJ and Malik Neighbors
as a tight end.
Yeah,
as a tight end. He played tight end there.
Hey man, we all became Jack Bech people because of the Senior Bowl, and now it's just like confirm prior. And I mean, you get a little hesitant because of the helmet scouting, because TCU wide receivers just typically. I mean, Quentin Johnston might have ruined the profile for everybody.
That goes for Savion. That doesn't go for Jack Bech.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm lockstep with you on that, man. I can't. I'm glad that you brought that up. We're all Jack Bech people. As Big said, this is a Jack Bech safe space.
I love it, dude. I think it comes back to just a real simple quote. When people show you who they are, you believe them. And I think Jack Bech has showed everybody he's a dog. So everybody needs to freaking believe him.
All right, Schultzy, you got a burning question. You got not a question, but a player you got to get on your lineup. Who is it?
Ooh. Yeah, I'll keep it real quick here. Guy you're going to get pushing a little bit later in your drafts, but I'm going to be all over some Ty Felton here. You got a guy who's 6'1". He come in at the combine 183 listed, but like at 6'1", that's a frame with an NFL strength team that I think he can put on some weight, and you know that isn't going to be a concern if he can add to that frame, right? Absolutely killed the combine, elite scores in speed and explosiveness, 4.38 40, 9.6 overall RAS score. He's kind of in a similar boat as Jaylin Noel, as the knock is the size, right? Like when you plug in the numbers, that's the only thing dragging him down. I mean, he's a good separator. He's good on his releases. He creates after the catch. For a guy of that profile to test with the speed and explosive scores that he did, I mean, I'm going to take some shots at this coming in late. I really wanted to I was going to talk Bechel too in here, but the steam has gotten real high here, and I couldn't justify saying you must walk away with him at where he's going to get ended up drafting after that combine performance. So I'm shifting to Ty Felton. You can get him a little bit later here, and I think, you got a little bit of shades of some great value Matthew Golden here. So I'm going to take some shots late.
All right.
Good call.
All right. Who's next on here? We got
holy shit, Chev, you have the same damn player we just talked about. I'm scrolling down this and I didn't even know, baby.
Listen,
I didn't mean to take your thunder.
I came into this episode with high expectations and I left with a best friend. So I appreciate everything you said.
Baby.
and I would like to invite you to come do karate in the cement aisle with me after this is over with. So my player is Brashard Smith. As I laid in my bed not long ago, I was just pontificating on what I could talk to you about that would, just really get the people going. And I was counting bricks, and then there was one brick and it had Brashard Smith on it, and I just stared at it, and I couldn't get past it. Like this is my favorite player in the draft, period. Like full stop, no equivocations. And everybody knows how much I love Jayden Higgins. And like in scouting him, I found myself just being like, hey, let's get me to the next Brashard Smith touch. Get me there. Like I was like Tyrone Bigum's like, y'all got any more of those Brashard Smith touches? and like I just can't get past he's one of I'm intrigued the most. And so I saw that he did have a meeting with the Broncos, and Sean Payton has been super duper vocal about getting a joker, be it a tight end or a pass catching running back. And he met with the Broncos at the combine. So yeah, my player is Brashard Smith. We are bricked up in the cement aisle. I'll call my doctor because it's going to be more than 4 hours, but I am not leaving.
Coach.
Hey man, I love that call with Brashard Smith. You want that archetype, especially in fantasy football. We want that PPR goodness, that opportunity. I've been told that the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, by somebody else, that they're really not keen on archetypes of running backs like that, utilizing their running backs in the passing game. I think the Chiefs would be a phenomenal fit for Brashard Smith. Another one you spoke to, the Denver Broncos. And, of course, I'm trying to kick out Joe Mixon. We talked about all the different running backs who are going to come and go. Joe Mixon, I think we're just going to slowly push him to the side. Brashard Smith would be phenomenal for CJ Stroud's resurgence and Houston Texans there. So love your call on Brashard Smith. I'm in lockstep with you. If I hear, let me throw it to you, Chev and DBro. Discount Devon Achane. Is that sacrilege or is that on point?
I don't think he runs as physical as Achane. He wins in a different way. I can see it. I think he's more of a slasher kind of guy. But look, I mean, you look at the testing numbers in certain spots, they ain't off very far. Chev?
So the thing with the important thing to remember with Brashard Smith is that he's a career wide receiver that just moonlit at running back at Miami. Mm-hmm. And then he went to SMU and lit the world on fire in his first year playing running back. So like we talked about with Jack Bech, I think it's important to note that his best football is likely ahead of him as someone who is completely new to the position. But the athleticism, like the way that he's just a pure football player, and the way that he moves with the ball in his hands is going to be a problem at the next level. So I'm really hoping that he gets good enough draft capital. I'm cool with anything before round 5. Like I thought it might be round 3 at the earliest because this class is so deep at so many different positions. But anything before round 5, I am thrilled with. Even if it's the right landing spot in round 5, I'm great with. But this is a guy who we haven't seen the best of his running back days at all.
Skinny Tyrone Tracy, baby. That's where I would come down on it.
Well, he showed out pretty big there at the combine, so I'm excited to see where he goes. Now, I'm going to talk about a guy that we talked a little bit earlier on the show there, DBro, is Tre Harris, and he's a guy that I must have. And even after the combine, I'm one as well that's not very scared about his 40 time. He did come in at 4.54, which isn't super fast, but there's a couple stats here that are intriguing to me. His yards per route run at 5.12, which was the best in the class, averaged over 5 yards per route run. That's huge. 95 PFF grade against man coverage. He dominated man, shows that he can win in tight situations. He had a 70% contested catch rate and only a 2% drop rate. His hands are solid, 16.1 yards per reception, 38-inch vertical. So he's got the size, and his speed is going to translate. He's going to be able to separate, and I think that his 40 is going to give me a little bit of a discount on him. So he's my wide receiver 3 in this class. I'm not quite as bullish as you are, DBro, on him, but
you're not far behind, bro.
I'm not far behind, and I like his situation, and I think he's going to land in a really good spot. So if he can get day 2 capital, I'm loving that.
When the film and the analytics all line up together, we should all be listening and we should all take notice. And so Tre Harris, like you rattled off all these amazing numbers, 1st and 9th in yards per route run of the last 2 years. Against yards per route run against man coverage, he was 1st and 18th. Like, he's not a flash in the pan 1 year dude. Like, I never thought he had. It's literally in my write-up verbatim. Harris isn't a burner. He likely has 4.5 speed. I wrote this before the combine. I worry if he has enough raw speed to stack corners and go routes consistently, but that doesn't mean he is slow or that he can't get free downfield or doesn't have the requisite juice and route running, man. Like, I just look at him as the closest I could get on Tre Harris, because I see a lot of different parts to his game that I like. I think he's pretty damn close to Allen Robinson, but with better run after the catch.
I love that so much. Yeah. I love that so much.
All right, bigz, let's get your guy. I'm excited to hear about who you got to talk.
So
about.
I waffled a little bit. First, I had Jayden Higgins, but I feel like we've said enough about Jayden Higgins. He's a guy I'm not leaving my drafts without. And I threw Bech in there. Hesitate to talk about him because he's steaming up, and you're going to hear a lot about Bech. Both of those guys, incidentally, were targets of mine in our pre-Senior Bowl shows. They were my guys to watch at their positions, and they didn't let me down. Now, Bech, when he started the practice sessions at the Senior Bowl, looked like he wasn't putting out as much effort as everybody else. There was a guy that was standing behind us who had talked to Tootin's agent. Tootin was coming off of an injury. He was running about 80% at the Senior Bowl. Month fast forward, he goes out to the combine and absolutely blows everything away. The guy I'm going to talk about, we'll talk about him in this framework. He's what I'm going to call a post-hype sleeper. He had a sophomore breakout, 1,400 yards carries, 1,400 yards rushing. He had over 20 receptions in 2 of his 4 seasons. I was looking for this guy to come out as a junior declare last year, but he got hurt in 2023 and couldn't make it. And that's Raheim Sanders out of South Carolina, formerly Arkansas Razorbacks. Now, he went out to the combine and athletically looked pretty damn good. He came in at 217 pounds and 6 foot. It's a little bit short of the 225-pound threshold that I was hoping for, but he still is at 6 feet tall. At South Carolina last year, they weren't as focused on the running game as they had been, as Arkansas had been in the sophomore year. As yards per carry were down to about 4.8. That's still fairly respectable. But what he did at the combine is kind of remarkable. Out of all of the running backs, he had a 4.46 40 time and a top speed of 23.55. That was the fastest top speed recorded of any of the running backs that were out there. And that's at 217 pounds. His 10-yard split was 18-10. That's not great, but it's competitive. It wasn't Montrell Johnson. It wasn't Trevor Etienne, but it was still there. And his max acceleration was 5.9 miles per hour per second. That's getting it going. So if he can get into the open field, and we know that he can with his receiving ability, whether it's on a check down or like a wheel route or whatever, he can pick up his feet really, really quick. I'm really excited about Raheim Sanders. I've been waiting for him for 2 years, and he is going to be nothing in this draft, if not an extreme value. If there is a team that has been watching him since his sophomore year that is willing to take a shot on him, give him third or fourth round capital. He's in that RB 8 or 9 to RB 14 range as far as rankings are concerned. But I'm going to be valuing him as a late third, early fourth that could find his way onto the field and showcase that speed and ability. I love Rocket Sanders, and I'm excited about him.
I love that. Absolutely love that.
I'll keep this transparent. I haven't gotten to his film. He's on my list for tomorrow. So
don't watch the film.
So one thing important.
It tells you nothing.
One thing that's super important to note with Rocket Sanders is he was listed at 230 on ESPN and 242 on South Carolina's official website. So this is a guy that got into the training and they were like, hey, man, you probably stand to benefit if you lost, you shed a couple of LBs, you stopped eating the Oreos and leaving crumbs in your bed at night. And this guy dialed in and turned in a 4.4 and hit 23 miles an hour. So it'll be interesting to see if he decides to go back
23
up.
23
and a half. My bad. Don't disrespect the half, guys. That's basically 24 miles an hour. So yeah, I absolutely love Rocket Sanders. As someone who lives about 20 miles from where he played some college ball at, I've gotten pretty familiar with him. So yeah, I thought that was important to note. Like I was paying attention to the running backs as far as their what was their Senior Bowl weight if we got it, and then what was their combine weight, because you knew these guys were going to come in probably a little bit lighter, like we noted with Kaleb Johnson. Kaleb Johnson was just like, bro, I play football, I don't run 40s. So I like a lot of the guys came in a lot lighter. For example, another guy is Damian Martinez, but I wanted that to be an important note because he did shed so much weight and turn in such a great time in the 40.
Have you tried those Posty Oreos yet, though?
Not in the bed.
Dude,
are you kidding me?
So good. Oh my God.
Caramel with shortbread and chocolate cookies. They're insane.
I bought 2 packs. They literally made it 2.5 days in my house between me and my kids. We were just like, whoa.
Yeah,
So
they're
good,
the best
dude.
best Oreos since the Lady
I think I ate
Gaga.
half a sleeve on the way home from the store.
They're remarkable.
Well, those Oreos are getting as much hype as Jeremiah's guy. Who's your guy, Jeremiah?
Ooh.
Hey, let's look at Matthew Golden, top wide receiver prospect, a top one in the 2025 NFL draft. Speed, route running, big playability. He excelled in track in high school, had some success at Houston before transferring over to Texas. His final year at Texas started all 15 games, came through in big clutch moments. Remember the Peach Bowl, 162-yard performance, SEC championship, and he had that game winner touchdown in the Peach Bowl. His ability to perform in big games makes him a top prospect for the 2025 NFL draft. Now he's got the 4.29 40-yard dash, 99th percentile, 5'11", 191. He's about 10 pounds heavier and an inch taller than Tyler Lockett. Golden looks like a fluid route runner to me. He's got bounce in his step. He can break his route and turn to the ball and cut on a dime while bouncing off the turn and cutting upfield. So I see it as Golden has springs under his feet, which help him change direction and increase his maneuverability. Add to that, Golden can catch the ball over the top with ease, which is impressive for somebody his size. Golden plays bigger than his frame. I really like him. I know, DBro, you talked about, was it Jaylin Noel across from CeeDee Lamb? I would love Matthew Golden to stay in Texas, right across CeeDee Lamb.
What if Elijah Moore actually succeeded?
Oh, man, let me tell you. Okay, what are the greater chances that Elijah Moore is bad or the Jets and the Browns are shit franchises at decision-making?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you.
Well, okay, yeah. I'm gonna float this out there. I'm gonna crush a little bit of your guys' buzz on Matthew Golden, and because one of the Atlantic models that I put a lot of faith in, and the guys over on the Undroppables have been working really hard on putting it together, is the UN score, and in their model, Matthew Golden doesn't fare very well, but also is a pretty good comp to a guy named Henry Ruggs. So I'm going to leave that there for you, and to kind of just dig a little bit deeper into, because he's getting all the buzz right now because he ran that 40 time. He's going to get into probably the first round because of it. So maybe just some cautionary tales here, because his analytic profile doesn't exactly match up to what he's been showing out as far as his athleticism goes.
Does the unscore show that he loves Top Golf, drinking, and hates women and dogs?
No.
Okay. To be fair, Henry Ruggs was a fairly good prospect, and he was a deep threat. He got behind defenses, and for a very short time, he killed literally killed the Jets.
Got behind defenses for a short time and behind bars for a long time.
All right, go ahead, DBro. Cook.
Quinn Ewers is the analytical model destroyer. Like, how many wide receivers do we have to see come out of Texas where their analytics don't match up to their film? I was not the biggest Adonai Mitchell fan. I was not. But I loved Xavier Worthy. I like Golden a lot. I will own this too, and just being transparent here, I did not see 4.29 in the bag for him. I sure as hell didn't. And so I don't like to double count. I don't double count guys. Like, if I'm like, okay, if you're fast, you're fast. Like, the hell with this shit. Golden is a guy that I did bump up my ranks because I was like, I didn't see him being that fast. So it changes. Like, he's on my list to go back next week, and I'm going to rewatch all of his film and stuff like that and be like, did I just miss this? Like, did I have a headache? Like, was it late at night? Like, when I'm watching his film, like, do I need to go back and revisit some of this stuff? But, like, you put that kind of speed on it and tell me, who does this sound like over the last few years? And I'll give you a hint. Ohio State wide receiver. Burner for days, has speed, wins with route running. He ain't going to offer you much as far as anything after the catch.
No, it's
dude,
not
he's not offering you a ton after the catch. He ain't breaking a ton of tackles, but he's going to route your ass up, and he's fast as shit. Dude, there's a lot of things where it's like, okay, if he's really that fast, I go back to the film. I already know he can route people up. His route running is how he wins, man. Like, his route technician, like, he's a route tactician. You add that speed on top of it, dude. Like, are we talking about Chris Olave 2.0 here?
And the thing is that, according to Sumer, 40 time is the biggest correlation between combine results and draft value. And so it does move, and we know that wide receivers benefit most from draft capital.
I'm curious what that model would look like if we took out all the Al Davis picks.
Okay, but so speed equals draft capital equals fantasy success. That's why I moved Golden up in my ranks, because he was behind Isaiah Bond for a little while.
Hey, Gold Bond.
Wow.
Yep.
It's a medicated powder. There you go.
Bond's legs are still trying to catch up to his mouth. So
for when you have that itch that you just can't get to. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the Dynasty Pulse. If you are with us on FSAN, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, comment down below. Tell us how big idiots we are, and DBro is the sharp that we should be listening to. If you are on,
those comments will be directed at me. So.
If you are on the Undroppables and Fantasy Football Plus, stick around for the Dynasty Pulse after dark.
Cool.
And we're out.
Peace.
And we're back. All right. Welcome to the Dynasty Pulse After Dark, everybody. That was a fun show. We went way over time. So we got another hour in store for you. Hopefully, DBro's got an hour to share with us. We're going to talk about our post-combine rookie rankings. And I've been going into my rookie ranks and adjusting stuff. I feel like it was last week where I got out early and threw a bunch of rankings out there, and I hope nobody listened. But if they did, you're just going to hear the same thing when we get to mine, because I didn't change any this week. So we are here. We are here. So go for it, Mike. Let's get going.
All right, well, let's go in reverse, because last week we started with the quarterbacks and running backs. So we'll try and keep it within a half an hour range here, guys, to keep within time strains here. But let's talk about the tight ends, and we'll get into the top 5. Everybody here have Tyler Warren as their number 1 tight end?
No.
No. Biggs, tell us about who you have as number 1.
I have Harold Fannin. We talked about his athletic profile, and Tyler Warren didn't get a chance to show us his athletic profile. Athletic profile is a huge correlation for production at the tight end position. We know that there is a push in the NFL to move away from the inline tight end into the big slot receiver, and Harold Fannin Jr. is just that. I did not move him from my rankings because of his 40 time, which was the big thing. Oh, no, he ran a 4.73 or 4.63, whatever it was. But it was still very competitive. He still was very athletic. He's got some numbers, analytics that are absolutely off the charts, and I don't have a problem with keeping him in as tight end 1. Now, after draft capital, that's probably going to change, because Tyler Warren is probably going to go as the first tight end off the board. So I'll look for landing spots and things like that. But at this point, as far as athletic profile is concerned, I feel like Harold Fannin has the best ability to be that big slot wide receiver. So that remains to be seen. But I'm on an island, so
yeah. Are we pushing back? How we structuring this? I haven't been to the after dark meetings.
Yeah, this is kind of, now we're freelancing here.
We're here.
Yeah, it's kind of like you go Bed Bath and Beyond, and it's a Beyond section. You have to beware. Where we are, we're at the Beyond section.
Yeah, push back, DBro.
We're somewhere in between the cheap towels and the Nair. Got it.
Now I have a bath, then I go to bed.
Yeah. I am so worried about Harold Fannin, and it's not so much the testing like in its entirety. It's the testing when you line it up with his archetype of the player that he is. And the fact that he's going to be in this he's a tweener. Like, he's not a guy you're going to ask to run to be in line for 40, 50% of the game. And so the only guys we've seen succeed at that are just stupid, ridiculous, off the chart athletes. And even guys like Mike Gesicki, who is all of that, has struggled to find his footing over multiple seasons. So like, I worry that like Fannin tested fine. If I knew Fannin was an inline tight end, I would have said Fannin tested fine. But like, looking at how his testing, I'm more worried that he gets Jaheim Belled than he gets round 3 draft capital. Like, because his role is going to be so specialized. You are going to have to draft him with a plan and an onus of like, we are going to use this guy this way. And there's not many teams that are going to do that. And a lot of people made the same reasons for Jaheim Bell. And what do we see for Jaheim Bell? The NFL told us no. So I think Fannin he's a very interesting, like, what's the difference between outside of the production numbers in the archetype and the role they're going to play in the NFL? Massive difference between him and Rondé Gadsden? Not really.
No. I'm a.
Well, so do you have a Rondé at tight end too, or is that only applying to Fannin? Not trying to like pick apart ranks. I'm just trying to understand process. That's all.
So Fannin is kind of he's a tentative. He's my tentative one. I feel like Gadsden. I haven't gotten the kind of the signal from the space that Gadsden is going to be drafted high enough to play.
Oh yeah.
Athleticism.
I think he's probably like a round 5 guy. I agree with that.
So that's Fannin has a little bit more hype and a little bit more steam, and that's the reason. But I mean,
but amongst the fantasy, is that hype and steam? I don't see that amongst the NFL circles though. That's all us fantasy guys out there just like hand holding and high fiving each other.
Well, that's what I'm looking at is.
but I guess I'll ask this. If Fannin goes in round 4, how are you feeling about him? Does he stay there? Or
not great. Not great, Bob.
Okay. So where does he have to go? Round 3?
Round 2 or 3.
He's not getting in a round 2. That's a hope and a prayer. That's not happening.
How about location though? Does location start to bear in mind? You know, what if it's Jets,
maybe
Saints?
If he goes to Seattle, and he's like in the 3rd or 4th round, I'm going to be okay with that. If Sean McVay takes a chance on him, I'm going to be okay with that. There are specific spots where if it looks like the team is investing in him and they know what they're going to do with him, then yeah. That's the ticket for him to break out earlier than traditionally tight ends that take 3, 4, 5 years to do so.
Okay. I just look at Fannin as he's kind of I look at Fannin the exact same way that I looked at Isaiah Likely. That's my comp for him. Like,
yeah, exactly. That's exactly
he is Isaiah Likely. That's basically who he is. But the idea of Isaiah Likely and the production and fantasy in the NFL, Isaiah Likely is a much better NFL player than he is for anything for fantasy. After week 1, everybody's like, Likely's gonna supplant Andrews, and then everybody's like, oh shit, I was wrong.
Right, but that's Mark Andrews, who is somebody that can play in line and is just as able when he's out. I mean,
Andrews is an elite. Like, Andrews is a dog. Like, he's a top. Where do you want to put? He's a top 10 tight end in the NFL, no doubt.
And I loved Likely coming out. I thought I watched a lot of Coastal Carolina, and
I mean, I was gonna say, if you like Fannin, you must have loved Likely too. They're the same cat.
I was super high on Likely, and I hoped that he would find a spot where he was immediately going to get put in a position similar to Sam Laporta, Brock Bowers. Not that I had those comps at that time, but where he could come in and be part of the passing game, not necessarily a blocker immediately. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for. If all things shake out, he is my tight end 1, and that's what I'm looking at. What I'm probably going to wind up doing after the draft is over is pushing him down based on the tight ends that are getting draft capital. We know the corollaries, and the corollaries for NFL production are athleticism. And we know what Isaiah Likely does when Mark Andrews isn't on the field, when Likely's out there, he can be a top level tight end. The problem is that you have I don't want to say an antiquated system in Baltimore. But when you have a team that isn't going to line him up as a big slot and expects him to do a whole lot of blocking, and he's not Brock Bowers with that run blocking ability, etc., that's kind of when things change. But if you have a wide open offense that runs a lot of 12 personnel, gets him into the slot, he's going to be okay. So I like the profile, and that's what I'm basing my ranking on. for now.
All right, let's talk about one more tight end before we move on to the wide receivers. Now,
Noah Theodore Olivier. What are your thoughts on Noah Theodore Olivier out of University of Regina, DBro?
we just made that guy up.
Who
Yeah.
to what? Huh?
Yeah.
Who?
Well, Ladarius Shadarius, if we're really talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about a guy that's probably getting into all of our top fives at this point because of a great combine he had, and that's Terrence Ferguson. Coach, what are your first initial thoughts on him? Is he in your top five now after a strong showing?
Just let's. I had to put him on the consensus sheet, you guys.
Yeah.
Let me just say that.
For me, these are my top five right now. Tyler Warren, Colson Loveland, Harold Fannin Jr. I'm not losing the hope on Fannin Jr. I'm realistic on him. Next, I would put Mason Taylor. I do like what he did on the gauntlet drill. To DBro's point, if he's going to be third fiddle in an offense, that may track into the NFL. I like to think that Mason Taylor has a little bit of a Tucker Kraft ability. I see his musculature, his body type, being a Tucker Kraft, so hopefully he can refine himself in the NFL. And then fifth, I do have Elijah Arroyo, who has been forgotten about. For Ferguson, I could put him sixth, but I'm not going to sit there and let the combine weigh so much in a positive direction. Likewise with Harold Fannin Jr., I didn't let that sway me too far off of having him three with the poor 40-yard dash. But the 40-yard dash, what's the differential? 0.8 from Fannin Jr. to Ferguson on the 40?
Yeah, 0.08.
Well,
yes,
the rest of the testing too.
Yeah, 4.63 for Terrence Ferguson, 4.71 for Harold Fannin. Yeah, but Terrence Ferguson blew all the athletic testing.
Yeah,
out
I
of
was
the
like,
water,
Ferguson blew him apart in every other test too.
Except
like
for the 3-cone drill.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's important to note there.
Yep.
I'm essentially just going to follow and see what the draft capital yields and dictates. Athletic scoring is good. For some players, it just elevates them up high so much. Somebody like Cam Scapo, it really hurt for the time being on the 40. It hurt Bond in not testing as well, keeping up with his mouth, right, DBro? With Terrence Ferguson, though, he really surprised. So it's somebody that I'm going to take note of. I'm going to monitor more so the drumbeat heading into the NFL draft.
All right. Great call. Let's move on to the wide receivers here a little bit, because this is where I think a lot of our rankings will definitely differ. I'm sure that not all of us even have this, like even close to the same number one prospect. Everybody going with the chalk. Anybody here has Ted as their number one prospect?
Schultzy and I do.
Yeah, Ted's my one.
Okay, so
and this is with us, like, and I will say this is not including Travis Hunter in my rankings. I have not added him to the rankings. And we can have that conversation too. I just look at the math, and the math don't math whenever you look at Travis Hunter. Like, I don't see how you're not going to play him as a full-time wide receiver and a full-time core at the same time. If you're going to play him as a corner, you're going to play him full-time. And I think the most realistic thing is the wide receiver is he gets 15 to 20 snaps. They probably give him a lot of scheme production, make things easy, get the ball in his hands when he's on the field, and try to maximize him. So Hunter is not part of my rankings right now. But I just same damn things I said about Drake London. I don't give a shit about his 40. Don't need to see him run it, and he can separate, because I heard the same bullshit about Drake London when he came out that he can't separate that people are tossing around about Ted.
Chev?
Travis Hunter is my wide receiver one. I got the confirmation bias I needed. The minute that Andrew Berry said that he viewed him as a primary wide receiver, that's Andrew Berry, Cleveland Browns GM. There's no more dynamic receiver with the ball in his hands. I mean, Luther Burden, however you want to slice it up. When it comes to just the dynamism, and then we're talking about now we go and look at his ability to play the ball in the air. His ball skills are the best in the class. Up like Ted 6'5", going out dunking on people. Travis Hunter is 6'1". He's probably going to post like a 45-inch vertical at Colorado's Pro Day if he chooses to do any of the athletic testing. But I mean,
if I was him, I wouldn't do any of it.
Exactly. His film has told you exactly what he is. So, and if we're looking at it from a financial standpoint, would you rather cap out at $24 million a season or go where Jamar Chase is going and cap out at like $40 million a season? So Jamar Chase is probably going to get $40 million. I'm not saying that Travis Hunter is going to be Jamar Chase, that level of impact as a receiver. But if he goes somewhere and they say, okay, we have 3 really, really good corners, so we're going to use you primarily as a receiver. You won the freaking Biletnikoff, so we know that you can play the position. And there's no stopping him from being dominant at receiver. I mean, we saw him do it over and over and over again in college. The minute he steps onto a field, he's absolutely dynamic. He put up 700 yards, missed like 5 games in 2023, 2024. It goes without saying. So yeah, Travis Hunter is my wide receiver 1 until somebody comes out and says, you are a corner. I'm holding out hope.
I don't disagree with you, Chev. If he's in the same conversation and they're a conversation about themselves with Tet. Like if Hunter is a wide receiver, and I agree with you. I've said from the very beginning, dude, if I'm Travis Hunter, I'm telling y'all can kiss my ass. I ain't playing corner. I'm playing wide receiver. That's where the freaking money is.
Show me the money.
Corners, man, even the great ones, it's like that type of rarefied money, you can count on one hand how many of those dudes are making it. Corners, they live the journeyman lifestyle in the NFL. You might see guys get 2 to 3 years or something like that on a deal, but a lot of these guys are going 1 to 2 year deals. And I'm like, if I'm Hunter, I'm like, shit, no, I ain't doing this, man. Give me the damn bag. I want to go win as a wide receiver. If I can't win as a wide receiver, then you move my butt to corner. But I don't want to start it the other way around if I'm Travis Hunter.
Yep.
But again, I am not.
I see it as posturing for long-term for the first time that Travis Hunter is a free agent, or when it comes to contract time when he's going to negotiate. I think he already has it with his team internally in the bag for wide receiver. And now he just wants to showcase and highlight, I've got that little extra bit that I can do for an NFL team to offer the two-way ability. I see him, you get linked up with a quarterback who's going to be assertive is going to say, I want Hunter in the huddle with me. So I'm seeing it as a long play on Hunter's team to where they're just going to posture for being able to add something extra, because what is the difference between Jamar Chase and Travis Hunter, be it that Travis Hunter sees himself at that level? You play to be the best, correct? I see it as, hey, Jamar Chase can't lock down wide receivers in the NFL. So I see it as wanting to offer a little bit more. So he's putting that Travis Hunter and his team on the forefront with this talk about being a cornerback. So I see it as a long play. We're going to end up getting great value in our rookie drafts on Travis Hunter as a wide receiver.
I need to rewind just a second. There was a point that I failed to make. I just got a message from somebody close to me. Somebody did a 3-round mock draft where the Raiders took Ashton Genty, then Malachi Starks, Dorian Strong, and Jalen Royals. I love the Royals pick. And speaking of Harold Fannin, one of the things was I looked at Harold Fannin Jr.'s athleticism against Malachi Starks' athleticism, and Harold Fannin Jr. out-athleticized Malachi Starks. And if you're going to put a linebacker or a safety on Harold Fannin Jr., he's going to win. And that was one of the. Anyway, moving on. Go ahead, Grindberg.
Well, I got one that's probably out of the range here as my number 1 wide receiver. And I want to get your all's opinion on it. I got Ibuka as my number 1. And I think because of the insulated, targets, I think that he's going to be funneled. I got him pegged as a similar prospect to JSN. He's a bit bigger. He's going to play that power slot role. He's going to be a target machine. And I think that he's going to have the safest floor out of all these guys in this draft class. I think he's destined for a minimum of 120 targets per year in a system that's going to funnel the ball to him. So I just see his upside. I think it's a safer play for me when I see Tet's outlook. He might be in a system that might not be playing towards his strengths, and I think that Ibuka is going to go in and be able to thrive anywhere. Luther Burden's got a lot of upside, but we have some question marks about his last year in college, him falling off the map there. He had a great combine, and I think that changed a lot of people's saying about him. I got Tre Harris pretty highly up there, but there's nobody else really that I see having such a
You're not far off, because I thought he should have come out last year as a junior. And again, there's one thing that we know about draft capital and wide receivers. Draft capital and wide receivers correlate to production, and he's going to go high. That's the only reason that I have Tet as high as I do, and over Egbuka. Egbuka is my number 2. Tet's going to go higher. That's it. But as we saw from last year, you had the top 3 wide receivers off the board were Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, and Rome Odunze. And I was in on 1 and out on 2, and I was absolutely right on that. Tet is Marvin Harrison Jr. of this class. So I have no problem with you having him as having Ibuka as your number 1.
And it's like every mock draft I'm seeing now, I'm seeing Tet kind of slide further and further into like the middle of the first round, at the higher end of the 20s, and that kind of scares me as far as draft capital goes. That is now narrowing the gap between him and Egbuka, and at that stage, I just see he's going to see the field and the opportunity share, and I think it's going to just have a little bit more insulation in the pick for me.
Yeah, I just think of Dance Dance Revolution. Emeka Egbuka is just going to cut in every direction and carve up the field underneath on defenders. And to your point about Tet McMillan and closing that gap, Tet McMillan went 19 overall in Daniel Jeremiah's recent mock to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So sliding later, to your point, Mike, I have Emeka Egbuka number 2 overall in this class. I just think he's just going to be a PPR carve-up machine. And it's just sometimes we don't like to press the easy button, but this is a situation where I hear the word safe, but at the same time, I think that downplays the amount of upside of the PPR printing press that Emeka Egbuka can be in the NFL. I did see, was it Christian Kirk went to the Texans today?
Yep.
A very tough scene. I really liked Emeka Egbuka to go there as an archetype to somebody like Nico Collins. But DBro spoke to earlier, a receiver pairing with Cortland Sutton. Sign me up in Denver. So I'm very much with you, Mike. So I don't think it's sacrilege to put him 1. I'm emphatically excited about Egbuka at 2 for me. So when I hear you say number 1, absolutely go for it. What do you think, D-Bro?
I love Egbuka, and this is another part where it's like, dude, like why do we not like this wide receiver class more? Like the echo chamber is drunk on their narratives, man. Like I hate this shit. Like it's the same thing every year, and they just pick and choose what they want to sit there and pick apart. It's like this class. Do y'all feel like the closer we get to every single class, and this is every single damn year, it's like, oh, the incoming class is going to be good. The closer we get to it, everybody's like, they try to shade it down a little bit, like, it's not as good as we thought it was going to be. Like, that's every freaking year, man. And it's like, come on, dude.
I think really this class is missing that elite tier quarterback, which would really prompt this class
No, it's not.
quite a bit. It is. It's missing a guy that is going to get that correlation, and it's not as deep either. Had the quarterback class been a little bit deeper, this class would be, the running back is lights out. We know that already. They tested that way. The tight ends, very solid. And like we said, this wide receiver class is definitely not as weak as we had projected it to be. So a little bit of quarterback action. And I think JJ Zacharyson had on his show, this is ranking around 6 or so in the last 15 years as far as the strength. And I think is just because of the quarterback class at this stage.
Hey, it's a lot like Barry Manilow in the Family Guy episode. They're all drinking, Peter and his friends, and they're all talking. This is the wide receiver class. And they just stop and they go, oh, I can't stand Barry Manilow. All of them just in agreement. And then Quagmire's like, except that one song. And then Joe's like, oh, yeah, and then I like this other song. And then they just all burst out and they're like, I love Barry Manilow. Like, I love this wide receiver
It's
class.
called the Neil Diamond corollary. The other thing about Egbuka that you have to consider is, and not to helmet scout, but Brian Hartline coached wide receivers entering the NFL.
The wide receiver you.
Chev, we haven't heard from you in a while.
Well, boys, I was opening the floor up. I didn't want to steal a shine from anybody. Like so gosh, that would be ideal if my computer decided to take a siesta in the middle of this. I'd want to hurt my neighbor's animals. So
that was part of the pregame. We shocked
you virused my fucking computer.
Exactly. It was pre-planned.
That would be, man, if you Skynetted my computer while I'm on with DBro, I would hurt someone. I would. Now, all right, couple things. I've been taking notes of all of this. Now, if Ted McMillan goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, this is Vincent Jackson and Mike Evans redo. Like that is, yeah, that's exactly what we would be looking at. If he slides to the back, I'm actually cool with him sliding to the back of the first round, because if he slides somewhere like Tampa Bay, or if he goes a few spots earlier to like the Bengals, and now they have their T. Higgins replacement.
Chev, I got one for you, and ain't nobody talking about it.
Come on.
Why the hell, if you're in Jacksonville, why don't you just make it? Well, let's go off the rails, baby. Add Tet to BTJ and let's party. Like, why the hell not, dude? Like,
Listen.
Like, here's my thing with teams. You take what's good and you make it elite. You just cut Kirk. You just cut Evan Ingram. You need a pass catcher. You want to talk about Chris Godwin and Mike Evans? It's Tet and BTJ in Jacksonville, man.
This opens up, like them making those moves opens it up for them to go ahead. They would have to make some moves. I don't think they take him at 5. You think they take him at 5?
No, Trey back.
So you
trade
back,
get yourself some more picks, man.
Into the teens, get you a couple more picks, get you some more capital in the second round or whatever you're gonna do. Yeah, I would absolutely love that. Liam Cohen is trying to equip Trevor Lawrence with as many weapons as humanly possible, since he's strapped. They're tied together at the hip, potato sack racing with his $250 million contract. So that they're going to try to support him as best that they can. I think like I said, the further he slides, the better the landing spots get. I don't want him on the Jets. I don't want him on the Saints. I don't want him on the Bears. We know that the Bears are out pretty much. I mean, so that's the thing that I've been sitting over here stewing at since. The Chargers. They need someone. Yeah, they need someone to compliment Ladd McConkey. Like, hey, here's Ladd. Here's little laddie, like getting open on everybody, and then you go over the top with Tet and dunk on everybody. So, like I said, if he slides, I'm thrilled about it because it just optimizes the landing spots.
Yep, I don't hate that at all.
They have Quentin Johnston at home.
They need to send Quentin Johnston home.
There you go. All right, let's move on to some running back action.
Well, before we do that, I just wanted to point out for DBro. Nobody has Tre Harris in our consensus as high as me, Chev, and Grindberg. And also, nobody has Jayden Higgins in our consensus as high as me and Grindberg. So I just wanted to.
I absolutely love it. I don't want to like throw a wrench in the gears here. I'm trying to figure out what kind of like coined phrase I'm going to throw out here. Can I toss one here real fast?
Yeah, let's
go
do
for it.
Fastball that shit, buddy.
I'm gonna sit here and take the hate train here. Did nobody notice on my rankings that I think I'm the only person on this sheet that doesn't have Luther Burden inside of his top 5 wide receivers?
I was going to mention that, and it was interesting to see that. You in the earlier part of the show really went to bat for Jaylin Noel, and I can see why you put him there. What are your big concerns about Luther Burden there, DBro, that has gotten you out of the top 5 here? Where does he land actually? That's my biggest
He is
question.
my wide receiver 7. I've got him behind Noel, Golden, and Higgins. Here's my thing with Luther Burden. Is he fantastic with the ball in his hands? Yes. I don't care about the fall off in the last year. That doesn't mean shit to me. That's not why I have him where I have him. It is the archetype of player that Luther Burden is. And there is a lot of projection that has to happen. And there's also a lot of things for Luther Burden that need to happen in the NFL. Like if you look at what he was asked to do in Missouri, it was a lot of, okay, we're going to get the ball in his hands any way we can, but a lot of this stuff is gimmicky. You're seeing a lot of bunch formations. He's used in motion. He's used on handoffs, rub routes. Basically, all of this stuff is designed not only to just get the ball in his hands, but to make it easy for him. And so looking at his skill set, give me the dude that you don't have to design an offense around him to make things to pull easy levers for. You don't because not every NFL team is going to do that for him. And if he needs that to succeed, that's a problem. And I've heard people out and say, look, his movement skills tell me that he can be a good route runner. Fine. You want to go down that road? That's a very slippery slope in terms of how I evaluate players. Saying a player has movement skills to be something is a different conversation for me than saying he is a good route runner, which is not really we don't really know. You look at his usage at Mizzou, and it's not you cannot definitively tell me that you could put Luther Burden and ask him, just put him on the field, no special gimmicks, no using motion, stuff like that, and go route dudes up. We can't. And so considering that, I like him. I don't love him because of all these different parts and pieces to his game, man. Do I think he's dynamic with the ball in his hands? Sure, but people made the same damn conversation last year for Malachi Corley. How'd that shit turn out? Not great. Okay, and I'm not saying they're a one-for-one comparison. I think Burden has better route running chops because Corley had none. I was anti-Corley the entire time, still am, because he's one of these guys that get all these schemed touches in college, and people want to say, oh, look at the missed tackles force. Missed tackles force don't mean shit, okay, in terms of, does that help you, and do you look at guys' profiles and say, okay, can that help them create yak? When you turn on the film and the dude is it's not translating from the spreadsheet to the film, we need to take note of that. And with his usage, I'm sorry, I have heard people use Luther Burden's name in the same breath as DJ Moore. He ain't DJ Moore. DJ Moore played from the perimeter in college. He's not DJ Moore. I heard people use the same, have talked about Luther Burden in the same breath as Zay Flowers. He is not Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers played on the perimeter in college and would route dudes up. His analytics didn't look great because his quarterback was dog shit. Luther Burden is not these dudes. I just think we need to properly frame the player he is and the expectations we put forward. And that's where it's that's not a top 5 wide receiver in this class for me. I've seen Jayden Higgins go route dudes up. I've seen him win across the formation. Golden is a route tactician. Noel is a stud. All those dudes. Now, Luther Burden is in the same tier because could he be like those guys? It's a possibility. Is he though? Is he in that air? Is he in that same conversation right now as far as the player that he is, as far as a route runner? No.
He's not bona fide. So I think what we're seeing here is a big difference in DBro's conviction. And I know personally, I can't speak for the other guys, but I know personally that I have Burden as my wide receiver 4. And the reason I have Burden as my wide receiver 4 is because I don't have the analytics yet. I haven't dug into the tape, and I'm going simply by what's being talked about. I have no conviction, right? What for you happens to his draft stock if he goes to San Francisco? A team that has shown that they scheme up their players. That's what their offense does, period. So Burden, they just got rid of Deebo Samuel. Mm-hmm. Ayuk might be on his way out. They do need a wide receiver 1 if Ayuk goes because Ricky Pearsall isn't it. What do you do with...
Whoa, did you just throw Ricky Pearsall? Is that what I just freaking heard?
Second lowest unscore in 2024.
No. We are not tossing Ricky Pearsall.
I love it. That shit. Let's go.
I'm shutting that shit down right now. We are not talking Ricky Pearsall shade.
So all I'm saying is he's not a wide receiver 1. That's all. What happens if Luther Burden lands in San Francisco?
I'll keep him where I have him because I don't think he's going to be a first-round pick. So if he's a second-round pick, then okay. Then we're talking he's a second-round pick in the same vein as Jaylin Noel. Matthew Golden's probably going in the first round, and Jayden Higgins is going in the second round. So Luther Burden, I mean, congrats on still being my wide receiver 7.
Also, I'm higher on Noel than any of our other consensus, so I wanted to throw that out there.
Hey,
After you that saves you, Biggs. After the Ricky P. I heard that. Okay.
Hey,
You're back.
you totally
You're back.
redeemed yourself. On the front of how many running backs get selected in round 1 versus receivers, 3-2 back and forth, it pivots.
This again.
How many receivers do you think get drafted in round 1?
Ooh, good question. 2.
Is it Tet and Golden?
I think it's Tet, and I think it's 3. I think it's Tet, Igbuka, and Golden. I think are the guys that go in round 1. I think Tre Harris would be to come out and run a 4.4 and stuff like that. People would glom onto him more, and the hype would push him into round 1. I wouldn't be surprised if a team traded back into the end of the first to get him, but I think Tre Harris is not leaving like the top half of the second round.
So you're saying that Dart and Harris to the Raiders is a possibility? Fuck
I
yeah.
am, and the Raiders should love that shit.
I do.
Absolutely love it.
All right. Let's move on to the running backs here, guys. And I don't have bigz' rankings in there, but I'm going to go over the top 5 here in the consensus. And I'm going to talk about 2 players here.
Why don't you have mine?
Because I don't know if it's on. It's not in the show sheet.
It absolutely. Oh no, it's in the consensus. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I'll go over to the consensus and I'll get on that. So we have Devin Neal from Chev. We have RJ Harvey from DBro. Outside of like the power consensus top 5. So I want to hear why RJ Harvey is in your top 5 there, DBro, and Devin Neal, Chev, in yours after the combine. Let's start with DBro and then bigz. Do you have anybody out of the top 5 there that is out of the, the Kaleb, Quinshon, Travion, Genty mixture with Hampton?
Out of the top 5?
Yeah, like do you have any of those guys out of the top 5 and somebody else in it?
Like who's your Harold Fannin Jr. of your running backs?
We need to have a discussion about why Quinshon Judkins is not a top 5 back in this class. I think we need to have that discussion.
Let's have it right now.
Now the question is, do you want to have that, or do we want to have the RJ Harvey discussion first?
Well,
hey, do we want the pain of discipline or the pain of regret? You let us know.
Are you talking to me?
No, DBro.
bigz is always up for a spanking. So, I mean,
hit me. Choke me first. No.
What, did you give me a safe word? I didn't hear a safe word. Sorry.
It's RJ Harvey.
My safe word is
Ollie
Brashard.
Gordon. I haven't adjusted my rankings based on the combine at running back yet. And I'm higher on Ollie Gordon than anybody else, just because of his physical profile and what he did in 2023. So I don't care about what he did in 2024. Things change. It's kind of like I come from the world of baseball, and if you have a pitching prospect and he does something, he's going to be able to do it again. And that's what the team needs to do, is to get that out of him. So you throw 94, but you sit 92, you're going to be able to hit 94 again with the right coaching and everything. Gordon is going to be able to do what Gordon did in 2023 with the right situation. So he's still in my top 5. Just because I love the physical profile. He hits exactly what I'm looking for in a fantasy running back as far as his size, things like that. Wasn't great at the combine, but running back for me is so hard because there's really you have Hampton, you have Genty, you have 5 guys, and then you have 10 guys. And so to me, it doesn't matter within those like where guys are being ranked. They're all kind of interchangeable. What?
Just binders full of guys everywhere.
This is fun. All right, let's hear about
guys being dudes.
Yep.
Let's hear about Judkins and let's hear about RJ. I want to hear it.
Judkins, man, it's just like I think he is a good, but I don't think he's a special back. And you look at his analytics over the last 3 seasons. Over the last 2 years, he's been 82nd or worst in yards after contact per attempt. Over the last 2 years, he's been 41st and 128th in breakaway run rate. In elusive rating, he is outside the top 65 running backs in FBS with at least 100 carries. So it's like the analytics suck. They're not great. He's not a massive, like, awesome pass catcher. So you're not getting extra pass game utility out of him. Can he catch dump offs? Okay, fine. Every freaking running back in this class can do that. Is he running a 4.3? No. Is he running a 4.5 or 4? Like, fine. Like, it doesn't translate to the field for me. So, like, I look at Judkins and I feel like the fact that he went to Ohio State is carrying a lot of water for him, man. I look at, if you would have had Judkins go to a non-SEC school, go to a smaller school, I don't think we'd be talking about Judkins in the same damn vein as most people are talking about him, because the analytics don't line up. You don't see like home runs, like he's a 1-speed runner to me on the film. I just don't look at him as anything special, dude. Like, that's why I've got Judkins in a range of a bunch of these different volume backs. Like, I got him at RB10. He's in the same tier as Scattaboo and freaking Dylan Sampson. I don't like either one of those guys either.
God.
A question, Debo. On NFL.com, on the Combine Tracker, it has Quinshon Judkins second for athleticism score. So
It's fine.
What's that? Doesn't move anything for you?
No. I mean, like, because here's the thing. Does it show up on their film? Does it show up on the way that they run? There is nothing in the analytics where it crosses over to the field. He tested really well. Kudos for him. That's probably going to help his draft capital. Like, he's probably going to go in round 3. I don't think he goes in round 2 like a lot of other freaking people do, but we'll see.
What about long speed? Is that a concern for you?
I mean, it is whenever you're not breaking long runs. I mean, you know, you got 2 years. I mean, like I said, outside the top 40 running backs and breakaway rate over the last 2 years. Like, it's not terrible. Like, but do his analytics and the film match up with a lot of other dudes in this class? I don't think that, like, he falls in a long tier of guys where can they get volume and could they be okay? Sure. But, like, what's the big difference between him and Damian Martinez? Like, I don't see it, man.
And you were right about saying that the Ohio State had quite a bit to do with it. He did have a huge freshman breakout. He was good in his sophomore year. And then he and Travion split carries. I was really upset that Travion didn't come out last year. I thought he was the perfect candidate to come out. And in my rankings, I have a really hard time. Both of those guys are right next to each other in my rankings, whether when they drop together. When they rise together. They flip back and forth, one over the other. I see them very similar. What is your Henderson take? You like the tape? He's so explosive. It's
I love Tre.
Hard. Yeah, it's kind of hard to like not project him as a home run hitter in the NFL.
I love Tre.
Yeah.
Tre's awesome, dude. The biggest thing about Tre is, can he stay healthy and what kind of volume is he going to get in the NFL? He's probably going to be like a 1A guy and come out and max out. You know what I mean? Like, dude, send him to freaking Minnesota. Let him be the better part of a committee. Like, let him be the 1A. I don't give a shit. Like, if you don't need 20 touches, if you get 12 to 15 touches and you're efficient as all hell with them, like, that don't matter to me. Like, that's fine.
Send him to the Chiefs. Let's go.
Yeah. No, I mean, I won't hate it, dude, but getting back to my dude, RJ Harvey, I love this kid. He was the RB5 for me in this class before the combine. After the combine, still my RB5. People lead the conversation with RJ Harvey and they talk about he's 24. I don't care. Like, that does not matter to me as far as a running back. We're looking at short shelf lives here. Like, you want guys to produce in their first contract. If they get a second contract, kudos. Let's go. You know, so the fact that after his first contract, he's going to be 28, don't give a shit. Doesn't matter. Because the other part about this is dude doesn't have the same amount of miles as some of these other dudes. He played quarterback up until getting transferred and or changing positions and stuff. You look at his skill set. I mean, the guy tested freaking awesome. Like, he's in that realm. Ran a 4.4. He's hyper athletic. You look at, and it matches up to the film. Over the last 2 years, he's top 20 in breakaway run rate and elusive rating. I think he runs with underrated power considering his size. The lateral agility is really stinking good, like, especially towards the back end. College injury reporting is such utter dog shit that it's hard to go through and swim through all of this and really understand if guys were dealing with stuff, what they're dealing with, and all that kind of stuff. I would say to anybody that doesn't believe or hasn't gotten to RJ Harvey yet, go watch the end of 2024. Do not watch the beginning of 2024. I don't know if he was dealing with an injury and stuff like that. You definitively see towards the end of the year in 2024, his second gear and that ability to break off long runs, like that home run speed where he kicks it in when he gets down the sideline, is definitively more there at the end of 2024. I have nothing outside of my eye and watching film to confirm that, but just for the people at home, giving context.
I love his ability to jump, cut, and go, move up the field. And it's funny, at UCF, he was trusted to take direct snaps inside the 5. So it'll be interesting to see if the NFL utilizes some sort of a wildcat for him, any kind of package down there for more touchdowns, because he was a touchdown merchant in 2025 or 2024. He had 25 touchdowns.
Where do y'all sit on RJ? Because I'm kind of curious. I know consensus is everywhere on him. I think I'm pretty much the high man in almost every room.
He's Grindberg's RB6.
Okay.
Yeah, he rose up my board quite a bit after the combine, and just putting him in spots. Like, I really like him a lot.
Schultzy has him. The rest of us have him in double digits, but like I said, it's so nebulous. From 8 to 15 is just like it's one big log jam, and it's hard to kind of like move guys up and down in that 8 to 15 range. I have Jordan James, I have Taj Brooks, I have Dylan Sampson, I have RJ Harvey, I have Cam Scattaboo, I have Bashal Tootin, I have Raheim Sanders. That all of them have.
I think this class, to your point, bigz, it comes down to also like pick your flavor,
right?
What kind of archetype of running backs and who do you like? You know what I mean? Like, right. I will own it. I love these dudes that like are 5'9" to 5'11", short, squatty, twitchy, can create yards on their own and hit the home run, but also create chunk plays. Like, that's my jam, dude.
Right. And I like guys who are young and damn it. That's a great clip. I like guys who are young. I like guys who are over 225 pounds. I like the BMI over 30. Like that. There are a lot of profiles that I like more than I like statistical production. Analytics are important. I'm not a film guy, like you said at the beginning of the show about not watching. Like I have just now. I've been an analytics guy. I'm a spreadsheet guy, and so those are the kinds of things that I look at. Now, there are so many guys here where it's like, okay, if I look at, I have Bashal Tootin at 10 and Raheim Sanders at 12. They're separated by 2, but they're 2 totally different backs. They're 2 totally different archetypes. They're 2 totally different body sizes. I have RJ Harvey right in that mix too. Like 5'8", okay, I don't care. Bashal Tootin is 5'8", 4, whatever. So, you know, Cam Scattaboo, if that dude like goes to the 49ers and has better draft capital than Isaac Garendo, then we know what he's going to do. And so this is such a nebulous class because it's so deep. There's so many people. It's so hard to like kind of split those hairs and say this guy's better than this guy and this guy's better than this guy, especially now because everybody does one thing great.
You're going to see ranks move a whole lot post NFL draft.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Depending on if guys like you're projecting a guy goes round 3, but what if he slips to round 5? You know, I think you're going to see a good bit of ranks move outside of the top 4 running backs in this class.
And we still have free agency to worry about. So we're going to see movement with the NFL teams.
Jaylen Warren.
So
Rico Dowdle.
Rico Dowdle was like, he's a top 15 running back or was in 2024 in a lot of analytics. What if the Rams sign Rico Dowdle? They have Kyron Williams and then they go out and they draft somebody in the 4th round. Like, how do you parse that? We had a similar problem last year with like the Broncos, the Chargers, the Rams. You had guys who should have unseated the incumbents, but didn't. What if you have a guy that goes to Washington and unseats Brian Robinson? Like, there are so many scenarios.
I'll talk about Tyrone Tracy. The Giants probably take a day 3 running back in this class, and they sure as hell should.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
If Devin Neal goes to the Giants, how's everybody's feeling? Take
Yeah.
that temperature.
Yeah.
Like if that happens,
Devin Singletary, be perfect.
yeah. I mean, seriously, like how is everybody feeling about that? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, there's a lot of situations. What does Cleveland do with their backfield? Do they address it in the top 2 rounds? Or do they say, screw that? No, we need another corner. We need this. We need a quarterback. I mean, we could just get 2 guys and let them run with Jerome Ford, and we're good enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. Let's get into one last player before we end the night here, and that is Chev's Devin Neal player. You got him still in your top 4 now, right? Is he number 4 guy or number 5?
Yeah, Quinshon Judkins has been 3, and Devin Neal has been 4 for about a month now since I did my film evals. So yeah, I love Devin Neal. I mean, I call him the professional's professional on a different podcast. He has no wasted motion. He's one of the most efficient backs in terms of like the things that you said about DJ Giddens. He's rising up the ranks because he tested extremely well, and his film didn't lie to you in terms of his ability to reduce surface area. Contact balance is ridiculous. We can say all those same things about Devin Neal. The thing was, if you watch the film, you know that he's not a long speed guy. Now, he does hit those home runs because he's so consistent at the fact that, like, hey, if there's 2 yards here, I'm going to create 6 yards out of it. If there's 3 yards here, I'm going to create 8 yards out of it. And you see that over and over and over again on the film. He had over 20 receptions in 3 straight seasons. He had 38 receptions this year, I believe. And then we watched the game against Colorado, which, I mean, the state of Kansas did Shiloh Sanders no favors this year. I mean, they probably single-handedly got his invite to the combine revoked. And you saw him be the best player on the field with the Heisman Trophy winner. There was nothing they could do with him. If there was any sort of question about whether or not Devin Neal was a pro, turn that tape on and you'll get your answer right there. But you don't have to just focus on that. I mean, his contact balance is unbelievable. He creates when there's nothing there. He's consistently able to make the first guy miss. And like I said, I just think he's a professional's professional. I mean, he came at the Senior Bowl at 220, which was heavier than what we thought. He doesn't look like a 220-pound guy. He goes to the combine. He weighs 215. He runs a 4.5. That's fine. That's what he showed me on tape. I wasn't ever like, oh, man, I think this guy might be a burner. No, I was like, all right, give me less than a 4.6 and I'm good. Now, on the flip side, Quinshon Judkins is one of my favorite running backs because of the fact, like, the early breakout age. Then on top of the early breakout age, you've got 1,500 yards. Like, you got 1,500 yards as a freshman. Here's what I have as far as my notes from scouting him this year. Like, I got the confirmation bias I needed. Well, he exceeded my expectations. I was just hoping for a 4.5. He got caught from behind in the national championship game, and I was like, please, Lord, dear sweet Lord, give me a 4.6 at the combine. Just give me below a 4.6 at the combine. Please just give me below a 4.6. Comes out 4.48, and you see flashes of that where it's like I stick my foot in the ground and I'm chewing up yards. And the question was the long speed and the athleticism, and he answered those questions. He's been extremely productive. He saves tread on the tires by going to Ohio State. If he went somewhere, if he ended up, let's say if he went to Arizona State, and he was doing like he had the opportunity Cam Scatterbo had, I guarantee you the production would look the exact same. So I am not deterred at all by him being with Travion, that like Ohio State's offensive line having 3 NFL players or however many guys. I mean, all those guys are going to play in the NFL. They bought the best roster in college football. That's a different discussion for a different day. Good for them. They're national champs. So I love Quinshon Judkins, and I will not be swayed off of that. He's my RB3. He's going to be my RB3. I did a tinker stinker the other day where I moved Kaleb ahead of him, and I didn't sleep that night. So he's locked and loaded as my RB3. Changed my mind.
I love how you're saying it with your chest, Chev. Like, I'm not going to push you off Judkins. We see him very differently, and that's cool, man. Like, that's one of the things I like about this class is you're going to hear a lot of different evaluations and a lot of different feelings about a lot of different players. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of them we talked on this show. I will handhold with you about every damn thing you said about Devin Neal. if you thought he was going to be faster than a high 4.5 or a low 4.6, you must have been watching a different damn player, because that is not how Devin Neal wins. Devin Neal wins with patience, vision, footwork, and lateral agility. And then he showed the explosive abilities with an 88th percentile or higher vert and broad. So it's not like he's about like an 8.4 Raz. It's still really damn good. So like,
you don't rush for 1,000 yards in 3 seasons if you're not a good running back and can't produce in the NFL. And when I interviewed him at the Senior Bowl, I said, people who know ball know your name.
Hold on 1 second.
Dynasty Pulse. So this is Devin Neal, and you're watching the Dynasty Pulse.
Love it. Love it. I got a chance to talk to him in Mobile and at the Combine, and composed. I mean, just very calm, demeanor. My thing about Devin Neal is I cannot come up with a comp for him, because his combination of skills and traits, I cannot put my finger on exact, and it comes down to what he's able to do in traffic and what he's able to do in the second level. The way that he moves through the second level with his lateral agility and his footwork, his feet are so damn good. I mean, literally the best comp I could come up with him is going superhero style. Like, I just called his ass Nightcrawler, because he's literally teleporting from spot to spot. Like, I don't have a comp for him.
That's been a struggle for me too. Like, so I don't
know who he runs like, dude. The way he runs is not like anybody that I can like defend him, just put my finger on, dude.
All right, hear me out. We got to go back a little bit. Look at Devin Singletary at FAU. Like the way that he was he's so laterally agile, and like you can very clearly see that he is limited from a long speed perspective, and but like the jump cuts and the agility are out of this world. Him and Marlon Mack are kind of guys, but I'm like, I feel like Devin Neal's ceiling is so much higher than either one of those guys. But that's what it puts me in the mind of just immediately, like having been a really big fan of Devin Singletary and Marlon Mack coming out.
I mean, just give me round 3 capital. That's all I want. I don't want anything insane. He ain't going round 2. Just give me round 3.
No, we buy the dip. Josh Jacobs. I like that Josh Jacobs too. Okay. Josh Jacobs is a little bit more physical, like that physical, nasty.
He's a little heavier, but I get Josh Jacobs vibes when I'm watching Devin Neal. And if you want a guy who I think has the ability to get 50, 60 catches in a season, I think Devin Neal can definitely do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love it, guys. Wow. 2 hours, 7 minutes in, and DBro, you went for the marathon with the Dynasty Pulse boys.
After dark.
Appreciate the hell out of you, man. Thanks for giving your insane insight to everything that we've been talking about today. You're always an open invite to the Dynasty Pulse next year, for sure. You're back on.
Hey, man, look, it ain't a question of if, it's a question of when. Anytime you want me to chop it up, more than happy to stop by.
Yeah, let's not wait until next March.
Just say when.
How about you tell everybody what you're working on right now, all the great stuff that you're doing?
All things obviously are over at Fantasy Pros. Really, the NFL Draft Show is my baby. We are doing that. We tape every Monday, bringing on a laundry list of awesome freaking guests. We just sat down last week. This week. Mike Renner of CBS talked the top end of this running back class. Got a laundry list of awesome guests the rest of the time, but that thing's my baby, man. Trying to pitch it and really get us into more of the NFL draft circles at Fantasy Pros, and has been awesome. As well as, my own work. I've got the positional primers for every prospect set is already out. QB, running back, wide receiver, tight end. I'm slowly adding to those as I get deeper and deeper into this class. Right now on the site, I've got my top 60-ish players, all with full write-ups. I will have that before the sounder goes off and the NFL draft is live. I will have a top 100 live on the site. Every player written up with a full write-up, stats, comps, everything, scouting report. The only limiting factor out of any of that is just how much all 22 can I find. But yeah, man, this was a blast, boys. Thank y'all for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Appreciate you for coming on.
We'll see you again in Canton.
Blast.
Yeah. Oh man, Always. First round's on me.
All right, let's go. Okay, from all of us here on the Dynasty Pulse, on the Undroppables Network, on the Fantasy Football Plus Network, thanks for tuning in, and we hope you win.
We hope you
Peace.
win.